Hey everyone, welcome to this webinar. My name is Eden Chai. I'm going to host it for you today. We're going to go through the apartment marketing funnel and the renter's journey. So, really talking about the different steps renters take to rent an apartment and how you can use that to improve marketing and property performance. Give us a couple of minutes here. I know a couple of people are joining, so I'm just going to wait a minute or two so that everyone can join before we begin. But I'm really excited to get this one started with you guys. See, there's just a couple more. Okay, let's begin. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in LA. There's tons of real estate and startup companies and startups over there. So I don't think it's a coincidence that I became passionate about real estate and technology. I'm the co-founder and CMO of Flair, which is a marketing software company for multifamily. I actually joined multifamily in 2019, just freelancing, doing an SEO project when one of my friends asked me to collaborate for a property management company. And that sent me down this whole rabbit hole of all the different kinds of problems that are in this industry and how I can really fit in. So I've been in the industry since then, and I've been loving it so far. Outside of that, I'm responsible for top line marketing strategy at Flair, how we get customers, how we look at our own customer journey, and all that fun stuff. So, as for the agenda, we're going to go through getting to know me, which you just did. Congrats. The second one is going through different kinds of issues and places CRMs fall short in this industry. And the reason I'm going to cover that is because if you're in real estate, you're likely looking at numbers a lot and using those numbers to make decisions. So if you're going to pull reports and get a lot of understanding from your CRM, you want to know where it's going to fall short. So I'm going to really go through that in depth with you. We're going to go through bottom of the funnel problems, top of the funnel problems, and how you can reach marketing harmony, I call it. We're describing the apartment marketing funnel as all the steps a renter takes from going on there, starting their apartment search to signing that lease and becoming a resident. So we'll go through that with you. A little bit more about me before we dive into the meat and potatoes of this webinar is my marketing school was in the Israel startup scene where I went to college. Budgets were really tight, so I really had to be scrappy, learn how to make things happen on the fly and without a lot of resources. So I didn't really go to school for marketing. I just kind of fell into the industry and became really passionate about it. As I told you earlier, I landed in multifamily kind of by mistake, but that's led me to where I am today, and I'm really passionate about all the problems in this industry. I consider myself a T-shaped marketer. So if you're looking at all my skills as a T, I'm pretty strong in SEO, and then I'm okay at just about everything else. That's how I describe it. So back to CRM issues. Why are we covering this? As I said earlier, numbers are such an important part of the budgets and the decisions you're going to make and where you're going to go from here, right? If a property is having trouble, you're going to pull some reports and try to understand what's going on, right? But what aren't those numbers telling you? That's really important. If you don't know that, you're very likely going to miss something or potentially make a bad decision. So when it comes to marketing, I have this graphic here, which I want to go through with you. CRMs are trying to paint you a picture of your marketing funnel and how that is leading to leads and leases. So the top of the marketing funnel here, we're going to describe as when someone begins their search. How are they going to start discovering different apartment complexes to reach out to and to potentially take another step with? Another step being calling them, scheduling a tour, walking in, etc. They could drive by that property. They could read one of that property's blog posts and discover them that way. A friend could tell them about it, etc. The middle of the funnel is where they actually start taking that next step. Maybe they become a lead here and they start talking to 3 different apartment complexes. And the bottom of the funnel is when they're touring and they're actually making a decision with one of them to submit an application. Now, CRMs are very good at tracking this bottom half over here. That is after they reach out to you, right? Your CRM, when you get a new notification, is because a new lead came in. So they're telling you, hey, you just got a lead from Google. Congratulations. What they aren't telling you is the 3 months of research that the prospect did before they reached out to you and how they spoke to various friends about your complex or how maybe they drove by the complex, right? So this is a perfect example. Your CRM can't tell you that somebody drove by the property, remembered the name and Googled it later, it's going to give you this sort of sense of false attribution, and it's going to give credit to some sources which probably shouldn't get that credit. So this is a perfect example. The CRM in this case is just going to tell you, hey, you got a lead from Google. Now, if you take this at face value, you're going to say, hey, we're getting so many leads and leases from Google. Why don't we just pour all of our money in there? We're going to fill up the property instantly. I'll show you why in the next coming slides, why you shouldn't do that. So if you understand the top of the funnel, you're going to have a good picture of which sources are actually contributing to the property performance. But this is kind of difficult to do because, as I just described, your CRM and your tech stack probably doesn't really have the capability to tell you if somebody drove by the property, right? These are things that you rely on prospects and residents to tell you. So that is how you have to double down on these things. There's a couple of different ways you can understand the top of the funnel. The most accurate in my experience is really just to speak with leads directly and ask them how they heard about you. If you want to do something that's a little bit less manual, you can add a field to applications or contact forms asking them how they heard about you. But you have to be careful not to make it a drop down, because if someone sees a drop down, you'll notice they're more likely to select the first three options. What we want to do is give them a blank canvas and say, hey, how did you hear about us? And you might find some really interesting ways people are hearing about your property. Like, oh, I saw one of your flyers in a yoga studio that I go to twice a week, right? So you're going to discover, you're going to get a clear picture that your CRM can't really tell you of, oh, people are finding me like this, and they see this poster here that we set up, and this different campaign is contributing like this, right? So these two ways are very effective at showing you how people actually hear about you and how they enter your property's funnel. Now, as they go through the different stages, they're eventually going to reach the bottom of the funnel, which is where you want them, right? You want as many people on the bottom of the funnel as possible, because that means you have tons of tours, applications, etc., and very likely going to get tons of residents. The bottom of the funnel is where you already have these leads and you need to convert them. You need to turn leads into leases, which is what we all want to do, right? When a property is struggling, a very common issue that people encounter is that they think it's a top of the funnel problem, right? The top of the funnel problem means you're not getting enough leads. But if you don't understand the whole entire journey, you're more susceptible to thinking that a bottom of the funnel is really a top of the funnel problem. So improving the bottom of the funnel is really just comes down to improving the performance of the leads you already have and not getting new leads. Fully understanding this resident journey is going to help you understand whether you have a top of the funnel issue or a bottom of the funnel issue, right? So most of the time, you usually just need to improve your leasing performance or conversion rate. But going down this journey and asking residents how they heard about you, understanding where the missing data is in your CRM, is going to paint a clear picture of where your funnel is strong and where it can be improved. One of the easiest ways to improve your bottom of the funnel is just to start tracking these ratios. At the end of this webinar, if you message me, I can send you all these ratios, but I recommend tracking these ratios weekly. Some people do it monthly. Just tracking these ratios are going to help you understand how the bottom of the funnel is performing, right? If you know how many leads you need to generate a tour, if you know how many tours you need to generate an application, etc., you're going to understand if the top of the funnel is really getting you enough leads to hit the leasing goals that you have set out. Now, back to the top of the funnel. Top of the funnel really comes down to getting more leads, because the funnel is very extensive and you need to be optimizing every single stage. If you want more leads, then it's super, super important to understand where the most successful lead sources are. Usually what people do is they say, okay, we've done the analysis, we realize we need more leads, but you don't just want any leads, you want the best leads to add to your funnel. And if you understand, let's say you do this manual attribution exercise, and you understand that these flyers in yoga studios, for example, are your top sources of leads, what you're going to want to do is double down on that. You don't just want any additional leads. You want to understand, where are the most successful leads that I'm getting, and let's try to double and triple that. So that's why this is super important, because if you really need more leads, which many properties do, you want to be very thoughtful about where you're getting them from. So just to recap, if you want to fix a top of the funnel problem, run a manual attribution report, which is basically asking residents where they heard about you, asking leads how they heard about you. That could be in person or on a contact form. Once you find a source that is working really well for you, which usually it's pretty obvious after you run this report, you want to double down on it, right? If you find that you're really getting a lot of leads, but you found that you don't have a top of the funnel problem, you can reference the ratios that I mentioned earlier, or just start trying to improve your website's conversion rate, right? And just try to squeeze more out of what you already have. If you've done all of this like really successfully, you want to achieve marketing harmony, which is having a full understanding of where your top leads are, not wasting a lot of budget, and maximizing the leads that you're already getting. So once you run this report, you should be able to map out the top 3 ways that residents find and rent at your property. Let's say they saw us on this flyer, they looked up our reviews on Google, they reached out for a tour, they came in for the tour and submitted the application over this time frame, right? Once you go on this journey, you're going to understand your resident experience, and you're going to be able to optimize for that. Understanding this is like super, super crucial for making sure that you maximize your marketing budget and reach your marketing goals. But it can be very difficult. I understand there is some manual work involved, but once you do this exercise a few times, you're already going to improve every time. And I promise you, it will give you motivation to keep going. Thank you everyone for joining this webinar today. I really enjoyed discussing it with you, and this is a topic I'm really passionate about. I'm going to stay online for just a few minutes so I can wait for any questions to come through. I'm also going to leave a link to my LinkedIn profile, but you can also just look me up. It's Eden Chai, and I work at Flair. But if you want to just connect with me and message me, ask me any sort of questions, I'd be happy to send you a list of those ratios on one of those slides, and just answer any questions you have. But thank you all for joining. I hope that this was insightful, and I hope that you become better marketers